So when your appliance is plugged in, you can use this app to turn it on and off. So did you want to have a go? So there we go. So we found it helps with elderly people, disabled people, because they control everything from their handset. So it helps. It's not as easy to turn things on and off, and you have to be going round and round. Actually, you can just have this by your bedside, by your chair, and you can just turn everything on and off. So we've been doing lots and lots of work around things like this. It's also very good for security purposes. When you're away from home, you can just turn your lights on and off, so it makes your house look very lifted.
For the people I care for, I help with their everyday household chores and I help with their personal care. Is that okay for you, Nan?
Oh yeah.
Is there any electronic equipment in your home that helps with your independence?
So we got a chair, a bed, a stair lift.
I use electronic equipment such as the closet-mat toilet for washing and drying, the lift to transfer from downstairs to upstairs, the hoist which helps me lift the person I care for into the rise and fall bed without damaging my back.
The equipment that we use are hoists, stand aids, the telecommunication, the profiling beds, the airflow mattresses, the electric wheelchairs, rising recliners and the stair lifts.
This is a stair lift which we find extremely useful for service users to go up to their bedrooms or use the toilet. Gives them independence to move around.
As you can see, the chair turns so the lady can get off at the top safely.
Telecare is a very useful piece of equipment as it gives peace of mind to both service users and their families.
Do not worry, your alarm telephone is dialing for assistance. Your call is being transferred to the care centre. Hello, Mrs. Harrison, can I help you?
Hiya, it's Mary's great-granddaughter. I was just checking to see if the alarm was working.
Oh, that's working fine. Thanks for testing. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you, bye. Do you use all of the equipment? If so, what do you use? If not, why don't you use it?
I use my chair to help me to stand. I don't use my bed and I don't use my stair lift.
Why don't you use the bed or the stair lift anymore?
Because I can't move around as well as I used to.
I find the electronic equipment that I use useful because I benefit from it with my health, and the person I care for benefits from it to help their independence.
I find it very useful in my job as we're unable to lift, and it helps promote the independence, as without the assistance of these, the individuals wouldn't be able to get out of bed, they wouldn't be comfortable, and they'd be at risk of pressure sores, and they'd also be confined to one place.
In the late 80s, I started working in Special Education Centre in Wrexham, working with children of varying needs and how things had changed from when my sister was small. There was a good education system going on, and everything that was offered there was to help children with their special needs and disabilities. We had physiotherapists, speech therapists, hydrotherapy, where we visited a pool each week, and children, particularly with cerebral palsy, benefited from the hydrotherapy pool, as it would help their limbs to ease up and move. There was horse riding, the special riding centre, which gave the children a lot of confidence, and they gained an awful lot from that. The appliances within the school were good. There were standing frames, walking frames, rollators, which enabled children to walk independently of another person and hold on to a rollator frame, which helped them to move along. The physiotherapy was done every day, and when the physiotherapists weren't in attendance in the school, the support workers would carry out the physio programme. The children were allowed to come back into school in council-run transport. Many buses were adapted with tail lifts, so children could stay in their wheelchairs if they were users, and they could just be tailgated up into the minibus. Everything that they needed seemed to be available then. As time went on at home for my sister, her needs were greater, and therefore in the home she had a walk-in shower with a safety floor, which enabled her to use it quite safely and sit safely for showering. She had a through the ceiling lift, I should say, that went from the dining room through the ceiling straight up into a bedroom. It was easy to operate, and Shirley could get a wheelchair into the lift and go straight up into a bedroom. There were rails, and there was also a safety step put in so that she could go up a slope into the house from a wheelchair. There was a special bed with a rise and fall, which enabled Shirley to get in and out without any difficulty, and a mattress which had a ripple effect, electronically operated, to avoid any bed sores and skin abrasions. I think the most important piece of technology I've ever seen anybody use is the talking machine, a computerised piece of equipment which enables people to generate a voice and therefore have conversations with people without being able to use their own voice. And that must have created an awful lot of independence. So I think things have changed over the years, but when you think from the 1970s, when there was nothing, up until now, how things have changed, but you can't believe how bad it was 30, 40 years ago.
Non-electronic forms of healthcare, such as physiotherapy, even the old forms of healthcare, are useful because there are some things that cannot be cured or helped by equipment, for example medication, blah, blah, blah.
1957, my sister was born with spina bifida and hydrocephalus. At the time, there wasn't to be any treatment, but Shirley was treated in Alderhay Hospital by a surgeon from America. At that time, in the 50s, children with disabilities were expected either not to survive or to be institutionalised. But Shirley lived at home. Although there were no aids or appliances for her, Dad made her a special walker out of an old kitchen table to enable her to move around. We did lots of exercises at home with her, as there were no physiotherapists available, and she eventually started to walk unaided. When she reached the age of schooling, the age of 5, there were no schools available for children with disabilities, but there was a unit attached to the hospital at Mile Hospital, Wrexham, where children were allowed to have a limited education, but they were also allowed to learn by play. Because we had no transport, an ambulance from the hospital would take the children back to the unit, and they would carry them in and out. As time went by, Shirley was too old to go to the unit at the hospital, and her legs weren't so good, and eventually a wheelchair was made for her. A school in Wrexham called St Christopher's School was now built, and Shirley could go to that school. Although academically she was bright enough to go to mainstream, because of her physical disabilities they couldn't accommodate her. St Christopher's had lots of steps and steep slopes, and although it wasn't really effective for her to walk up and down, that was the only offer of education for her. When she left St Christopher's, there were no jobs available because not many places could accommodate people with disabilities, a limit of lifts and a limit of any help or toilets available for people using wheelchairs. So she attended a centre for mixed ages, adults, and ended up making baskets and what have you. Eventually she didn't go there anymore, it was dissolved, and she stayed at home with Mum and Dad. So there wasn't much around then, between the 50s and the 70s, and I remember reading up that it wasn't made law until 1975 that Britain should supply education for all children with disabilities, and 400 schools were then built to cater for all children with disabilities. And in the same year, it was also deemed that in Britain, people with special needs and very sick people should be helped with transport, a telephone line, and any services in the home which they should need.
We shouldn't reverse back to the old methods of non-electronic equipment, as we are at an advantage with current electronic methods to assist the vulnerable. Example, we don't have to lift, we've got the hoists. They don't have wheelchairs, independence on going out and about would not happen, and would be stuck at home not being able to go out. Ehealth is a necessity, in my opinion, to assist the vulnerable within the healthcare system. Assistive equipment, electronic and non-electronic, is a great method to assist the vulnerable to live more independently. I feel they do not take away a person's independence, they promote it. It has improved our services and makes life a lot happier for service users and the family.